Hello friends, greetings and welcome back to Flavors and the Knowledge, the podcast dedicated to gastronomic education, healthy living, and the pure joy of eating well. I'm your host, Noah Mitchell, speaking to you from Chef Walter's Cooking School in Cranston, Rhode Island, USA. This content is written and produced by Chef Walter. Today's episode is titled, The Empire of the Steak, Why America is a Carnivore's Paradise. To understand the United States, one must eventually look at its dinner plate. On that plate, usually front and center, sits a portion of animal protein that would stagger the average global citizen. Americans consume over 220 pounds of red meat and poultry per person annually, one of the highest rates in the world. But this appetite isn't just about hunger, nor is it merely about nutrition. In America, meat is a narrative. It is a story woven into the country's geography, its economy, and its very concept of freedom. The reason Americans eat so much meat is that, for centuries, the ability to do so was the clearest definition of the American dream. The story begins before the United States was even a nation. When European settlers arrived in the New World, they came from a continent where meat was a luxury reserved for the aristocracy. The average English or French peasant survived on bread, gruel, and seasonal vegetables. A roasted bird or a side of beef was a rare, festive treat. In America, however, the script was flipped. The land was teeming with game, and the vast forests provided ample foraging for livestock. Pigs, specifically, became the colonists' best friend. They could be let loose in the woods to fatten themselves on acorns and roots with almost no human labor, then harvested for a winter's worth of protein. By the mid-19th century, foreign visitors were often shocked by the American diet. They wrote home describing breakfast tables groaning under the weight of steaks, chops, and ham. In America, even the poor ate meat. It was the first tangible proof that this was indeed the land of plenty. While pork was the early staple, beef became the soul of the nation. This shift occurred in the mid to late 1800s, driven by two forces, the myth of the West and the reality of the railroad. The cowboy became the ultimate American archetype, rugged, independent, and masculine. His job was driving cattle. As the romanticism of the Wild West grew, beef came to be associated with vitality and strength. To eat a steak was to partake in that frontier spirit. Before the Civil War, you ate what was slaughtered locally, but the invention of the refrigerated railcar changed everything. Suddenly, cattle raised on the vast, free grass of the Great Plains could be slaughtered in the massive stockyards of Chicago, hog butcher for the world, and shipped fresh to New York or Boston. This industrialization turned meat from a farm product into a cheap, standardized commodity. If the railroads built the supply chain, corn supercharged it. Following World War II, changes in agricultural policy, most notably under the Nixon administration, encouraged the massive overproduction of corn and soy. Farmers suddenly had a glut of cheap grain. The most profitable way to use this surplus was to feed it to animals. This shifted livestock from grazing on pasture, which takes time and land, to feedlots, which are fast and space-efficient. The result was an explosion of cheap calories. Chicken, once a special Sunday dinner, became incredibly inexpensive due to rapid growth breeding and cheap feed. Beef became marbled and tender, suited for the fast food revolution. The price of meat, relative to average income, plummeted, making a burger a daily possibility for the working class. In the 1950s, the American dream migrated to the suburbs. The focal point of the suburban home was the backyard, and its altar was the grill. The cookout became a ritual of American life. It reinforced traditional gender roles. The man, perhaps working an office job during the week, reclaimed his primal provider status on the weekend by managing the fire and the flesh. The sizzle of a steak on a Weber grill became the soundtrack of the middle-class success story. It signaled that you had leisure time, outdoor space, and the disposable income to burn. Beyond history and economics, there is a deep cultural psychology at play. In the U.S., meat is often framed not as food, but as fuel and freedom. First is masculinity. Marketing has long tied meat consumption to manliness. From the hungry man TV dinners to fast food ads implying that salads are for the weak, meat is coded as the food of the aggressor, the winner, and the strong. The second is the freedom from scarcity. In a culture that prioritizes individual liberty, dietary guidelines calling for reduced meat consumption are often met with resistance. For many, eating a burger is a small act of rebellion against regulation, a declaration that I will eat what I want. Today, however, the narrative is complicated. Americans are more aware than ever of the environmental toll of factory farming and the health risks associated with high consumption of processed meats. Plant-based alternatives are flooding the market, and meatless Mondays is a trend. And yet, total meat consumption in the U.S. remains near record highs. Why? Because the infrastructure, the corn subsidies, the fast food chains on every corner, and the cultural history is built to sustain it. Americans eat so much meat because, for 250 years, the country has been engineered to make meat the path of least resistance. It is cheap, it is everywhere, and it tastes like history. In conclusion, I would like to remind you that all our podcasts are featured on all your preferred platforms. Please join us for the next round for another exciting and educational content. You can join us and take cooking classes at our school if you live in the New England area to certainly elevate your talent. For recipes regarding this episode, please visit our Flavors and Knowledge newsletter for the free download. All links and details will be in the show notes. If you are planning a vacation, please consider joining Chef Walter's food and wine tour to Italy. Lastly, if you are in the kitchen, keep your eyes on the fire. Thanks for the privilege of your time. This podcast is produced and published by Simval Media Group, USA.